Invisible Wounds, the hidden struggle of Muslim students in California. My name is Usman Khan, and I'm the director of the Center for the Prevention of Hate and Bullying, the CPHB. And I'm also joined by my colleague, Bayan Kanawati, who is the programs manager at the CPHB. And off to the side, which you can't see, is Shajuti Shahryar. She'll be running the operations in the background. So before we begin, just a brief introduction about CARE and the center, the CPHB, and what our relationship is. So as many of you may already know, CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, California is the California chapter of the largest Muslim civil rights and advocacy organization in the United States. Its mission is to enhance the understanding of Islam, protect civil rights, promote justice, and empower American Muslims. CARE provides legal assistance to those facing discrimination, conducts educational campaigns to challenge Islamophobia, and engages policy advocacy to ensure equality and inclusion for all. By fostering dialogue and collaboration, CARE works to build bridges between communities and uphold the principles of justice and democracy. The Center for the Prevention of Hate and Bullying is a special project of CARE California. We're dedicated to combating hate bias and bullying and discrimination in all forms through education, advocacy, and research. And what you see today is part of that product. The center works with schools, communities, and policymakers to foster understanding and promote tolerance, to create safe spaces for individuals of all backgrounds through initiatives like workshops, training programs, and resource development. We aim to empower individuals and communities to stand against hate and build inclusive environments. What we'd like to start off with is a short video, and what we believe that this video really helps to encapsulate the challenges that the BAMEMSA community faces, which is an acronym for Black, African, Middle Eastern, Muslim, and South Asian communities that they face in K through 12 schools, and things that and again, we've been tracking this for the last, since 2013. But this shows specifically that the struggles they face in California schools, but I'm assuming that this is what the struggles they're probably facing nationally as well. The video really captures the essence of our report and the importance of reporting and raising your voice. So without further ado.
Malika had a bad day at school. A classmate called her a terrorist, and no one, not even her teacher, took any action to stop it. This isn't the first time, but today, it hit harder. Words like these, targeting Malika for her Muslim faith and appearance, are forms of hate. Her dad Omar brushed it off before, but it's gotten worse. Omar knows he needs to take action, because when hate and bullying go unchallenged, it will just keep happening. Omar does the right thing and goes to the principal to tell him about the incident. He explains everything in a calm, assertive manner, demanding that action be taken, but unfortunately reporting hate can be affected by prejudice. In this case, the principal downplays the bullying and shows his own bias towards Omar. Omar knows silence is not an option, whether it's advocating for himself or his daughter. Speaking up and reporting hate is the first step towards creating change. If you have been a victim of hate or discrimination, please report the incident through our website. Reporting hate empowers us to protect all communities, advocate for justice, educate others, and provide guidance in seeking legal aid. Together, we can build a safer, stronger community.
I will now hand it off to my colleague, Bayan Kanawati, who will lead the next portion of our town hall. Bayan.
Thank you, Osman. Good morning again, everyone. Thank you again for joining us. We have parents today, students, community members, and school educators. So thank you again for taking time this morning to really dive into what are some of the struggles that Muslim students are facing. So today we're going to be spending some time sharing some key findings from our latest report. We wanted to really center the students' experience and uplift their voices and stories. Again, as you could see, the theme or the title of this report is Invisible, and that's actually what majority of students did really experience or felt at school. We want to, today you really want to walk away with some strategies and practical tools or what what next steps you could take as an educator or a parent or even as a community member. And then what are some resources and trainings that we provide in-house as well. And I just wanted so today, you, I want to start off with just the background and purpose, right, of why we do what we do. And so this actually started back in 2013, where we started conducting biannual surveys to assess the school climate for Muslim students ages 11 to 18. And, this survey is actually created in response to rising concerns about bullying and discrimination and identity bias-based harassment in schools. And as you can see, findings have consistently shown that between 40 and 55% of Muslim students reported experiencing bullying, revealing a persistent and troubling pattern of discrimination in educational settings. And just to kind of give you just like a little snapshot of just between 22 and 2023, CARE California received an increase of 195% of reports of K through 12 bullying and discrimination. So this issue, since 2013, we continuously see a consistent, rise of issues happening at schools. And so for this year, it marks the release of our seventh biannual bullying report. And basically, it builds upon this ongoing work by examining not only the prevalence, but also the depth of challenges Muslim students are facing in schools. Just to give you a little, intro to the methodology of this whole study. This year, this is actually pretty unique, and this is the first time we actually do a sequential explanatory mixed methods design, where we combine both quantitative and qualitative data. And again, this approach was to really provide both broad trends and personal narratives, offering a comprehensive understanding of how bullying and discrimination affect students' daily lives. So for our quantitative data, we were able to collect about 1,802 eligible surveys, and that was with the support of all four CARE offices in the California chapter. So we have an office in Sacramento, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and San Diego. And with the help of our teams across the state, we were able to collect basically data from over 48 counties, which is a huge success for this year. And for our qualitative data, we were able to do one focus group and one interview to really capture the personal experiences and struggles of those students. And by the way, if you have any questions at any time, please feel free, as Osman mentioned, to include it in the chat. And just to give you a disclaimer for today, a lot of the key findings that I'm sharing are across the state, so statewide California numbers. But if you are interested, let's say you're an educator from Orange County or San Bernardino or Sacramento, and you really want to take a dive on what is happening in your county, we are more than happy to help to support that. But unfortunately, we can't go over all the 48 counties today. But if you do want that, we can definitely share it with you towards the end by giving you our email and contact information. So just in general, as you could see, for peer bullying experiences of our survey findings, we found that half of Muslim students in California reported experiencing bullying at school by their peers due to their religious identity. So just to keep in mind, that's 1 in 2 Muslim students. And the most common forms of bullying that we found included verbal harassment, exclusion and bias, and threats and physical harm. And unfortunately, even though that the rate of bullying is significantly high, 67% of those students actually did not, report their experiences of peer bullying to school staff. And, sometimes when we meet with schools, they tell us like, we haven't received any, Islamophobic bullying from our Muslim students. And this really shows that there's an issue, right? There's a systematic issue within the school where students aren't feeling safe to report these incidents. And so a lot of those students didn't report because they felt undervalued or marginalized. They were fearful, or they found the school's reporting process unclear. Again, all of these could have been preventative measures, but unfortunately, there's no safe space for students to do that. We also found that a lot of the discrimination and harassment actually happened from school staff on campus. We found that 29% of students reported experiencing school staff making offensive remarks or displaying inappropriate behavior towards Islam or Muslims. And the most common forms of offensive comments that they received from schools included verbal harassment and derogatory comments, biased or harmful teaching practices, and intimidation and exclusion. This is really concerning because if the school staff are the ones that are creating an issue within an unsafe environment, and they should be the role models for other students to be able to do, to treat people the way that they are, like to treat them well. If the school staff aren't doing something wrong, then how is that going to end there, right? And that's where you see peer bullying as well. And then the last thing, and again, we kind of assess the school climate and safety concerns of what's happening on campus. We found that majority, like half of students basically reported feeling a lack of safety, belonging, and emotional comfort in schools. And 43% of those students that experienced bullying actually missed school because of it. And that's far exceeding the national, average absenteeism rate of 28%. And as school counselors being there as a support to students, we concerningly found that 8% of those students actually only 8% of those students actually seek support from school counselors. And that's because they often perceive them as biased and lacking understanding of their unique experiences. I will go ahead and pass it over to my colleague Osman to go over our qualitative data, which is our focus group and interview findings.
Thank you, Ben. When CARE first began collecting data, it was 2013, and what began it was the idea that, or the understanding that discrimination, bullying is happening across the board to other religious groups as well. And when we began questioning and asking students, "Have you been bullied? Have you?" The response was no. They didn't see any instances of them and the bullying. But then what we did was we specifically or specified certain statements like, has this been said to you? Has this been said to you? Have you been called a terrorist? Have you been called a supporter of XYZ? And the numbers just grew. And so what happened was we saw from that instance, and that's what we started recording from the quantitative aspect, is that when you specify the incidents that have happened, that have taken place, students then say, "Whoa, this has happened to me. That's happened to me," and then identifies clearly that they have been victims of hate incidents, that they're being bullied verbally in this case, just like you saw earlier. And so then what we decided to do was, or we understood that at that junction was that we cannot let hate like this become the normal day-to-day experience of our students. And the students need support in being able to defend themselves, somebody to speak out for them. That's why initially we started this quantitative side of it. However, this year, we did something that we've done has been unprecedented. We did a qualitative study. And so what you will go over right now, Ben was just sharing with, which is said in regards to qualitative data, is that we're looking at the focus group and the interview findings that we had. Something that I've heard recently is that, these are, Islamophobia is as an unprecedented rise. And that's not true. It's not unprecedented. The quantitative reports we've shown in the past quantitatively prove that Islamophobia has been on the rise for quite a long time. Whether it's even, definitely after post 9/11, and from even personal anecdotal experiences that we saw in the community, even pre 9/11. And so what you'll see in the focus groups here is, verbal harassment is the most prevalent form of bullying. There's definitely lack of safety and belonging and emotional comfort within schools that students feel on the day to day. There's bias in the curriculum and the way that the teachers are actually practicing the instructional portion of it, in addition to what may be biased within the curriculum itself. There's definitely an underreporting, and you'll see some of these underreporting mechanisms where students just don't feel comfortable because they don't have trust in the support services staff and the institutions themselves that are supposed to provide the duty of care that schools are, by their mandate, are supposed to provide. And noticeable gaps you'll see in the support, again, from school counseling and services. Next slide, please. So the first one, of course, is verbal harassment, and that's the most prevalent form of bullying itself. And we see from the voices of these students, right, the real life, real world experiences, as opposed to just the quantitative data that's showing it. This is in their voices. So a teacher on campus was making up lies about me and posing possible threats to my safety and safety of my friends and other people who are like me on campus. This is an 11th grade student here in California, right? So you see examples like this, and we saw multiple examples of, whether it's teachers or peers being being the impetus of that fear mongering or that fear, the creation of that fear. Next slide, please. Theme two, lack of safety and belonging and emotional comfort within schools. So, here's one student, another 11th grade student. I always ask myself why it's hard for me as a Muslim student to talk with no fear, share my perspective, and just be me. I mean, this really puts into question of can our students express their natural identity without having to wear a mask or masking what they're truly feeling inside. And obviously, when you see this type of fear and it's impacting their safety and their belonging and their emotional comfort, impacts their affective filter. And so when your affective filter is impacted and it's high, you're not walking into school being able to absorb content, being able to absorb new information. So, which is going to invariably impact their academic performance. So it's not just experiencing, bullying. It's also the impact that it has and let's just say the residual effects of it you can see across the board. And if they're there to learn and they're not able to learn and their academic performance is being impacted, there is going to be a domino effect in their not just their performance at that grade level, but even down the line in their academic career. Biased curriculum and teaching practices. So here's, one student says, my history teacher is so biased. Teachers make you scared to speak or share your opinion. And they are biased not only about Gaza, but anything related to Islam, Muslims, and Arabs. And so, we've seen and we see across the board that sometimes the curriculum or the teaching practices, whether it's inadvertently or not, it vilifies Muslims. And especially when it's covering geopolitical events that involves Arab countries, Muslim countries, and even sections of history in their textbooks and their curriculum. And sometimes these are insidious remarks that are made and microaggressions by teachers, and it chips away really at the student's identity, questioning their identity as a Muslim, but also their identity as an American. And especially we saw across the board in these focus groups when 9/11 is taught, our students seem to be singled out, specifically, whether it's overtly or implicitly, because whenever terrorism seems to come up, when geopolitical incidents involves Muslims, the schools do not do the definitive part on their end to provide these guardrails to protect them from the impact that this information, how it's conveyed and how it's instructed, is going to have on their students. And obviously, some of the books, in terms of the curriculum that's there, when you have curriculum that is skewed in a certain way. I mean, obviously, when we look at sometimes a Eurocentric way of covering history, or we look at, you look at the medieval period, right, which is also the golden age of Islam. It is not covered to the degree that it needs to be covered as the golden age of Islamic civilization, right? And so when you see these types of gaps or you see these types of biases, it really, really impacts the way that students see themselves as both as Muslims and as Americans. Next slide, please. The theme for underreporting and lack of trust and support reporting system. So here's a student in 11th grade. I went to the admin to raise a flag about my teacher's offensive comments, but she wasn't held accountable. What's the point of reporting? If my situation was not taken seriously and my feelings were not acknowledged, I thought about moving schools, but at the end of the day, even if I changed schools, I might face similar experiences because Islamophobia is so strong in this country. But I miss so many days of school because I need a long time to heal and recover. This cycle just kind of feeds into itself. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy to a degree where you can't raise these questions because you will either be dismissed or will not be addressed to the degree that needs to be addressed. And so, they're just not going to report anymore. And so that's where you see the underreporting because, just because something is not reported doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And that becomes the illusion of safety for Muslims in schools where the numbers don't show it because of the fact that they know they're not going to get the requisite services, the care that they need to deal with when they have these issues or when these issues need to be addressed by the staff and by the admin. And the fifth theme, noticeable gaps in support from school counseling services. I mean, here we see, seventh grade student. I had a negative experience with my school. When I taught, I'll repeat that again. I had a negative experience with my school counselor. When I went to talk to her, she blamed me instead of standing by me and supporting me. I mean, these stories really tell the words of these students really tell and create really a stronger picture of what the data really shows. And so if these counselors who are the support staff counselors and services are dismissive and or devalue their concerns, then these students are not wanting to approach or do not approach these staff support services that are there to provide the level of comfort and care that's designed in these schools, and that's their job. And so again, when this then feeds into, I mean, the title of our report is the invisibility, right? There are invisible wounds, and this really just shows you how invisible that these wounds are. And it's whether it's the support services not giving the proper care and attention, the staff, and of course the peer bullying. All these create this environment, this culture which again dismisses or devalues the students, and therefore they just retreat and internalize a lot of what the experiences that they have. So, when we look at now institutions, and so we were looking at now the recommendations for educators. And so, I mean, it's clear that institutional action or inaction really can be either deafening or speak volumes here. And so we're going to look at some of the recommendations that we've come up with for educators and schools and school districts to employ in their institutions. Number one, real accountability beyond simply a rhetoric. And it's not said in a pejorative way, but I mean, it's something that really needs to be implemented with the level of accountability. So we walk the walk, we talk the talk, and we hold things accountable. Some things that really need to happen here is that policies need to explicitly name and prohibit Islamophobia, identify it with a particular category, and not simply ingrain it, in that general hate bias language. I mean, something we see with other forms of religious discrimination. It's specifically, clearly stipulated, and so even like we went back to it when we originated the reporting back in 2013. When you asked students have they been victims of Islamophobia, even they themselves again did not know unless we were able to specify it for them, and then they were able to identify clearly exactly the experiences they had. And it formed, the beginning of our documentation of Islamophobia against our students here in California. We need policies with real accountability, and without cultural specificity, again, will not bear any real impact in the world. So, and again, these are the administrators that need to hold their staff accountable to the definitions that we have and the language that we've identified, and so they can follow up on it. Again, we're communicating with a level of clarity here, and so we're clear about something. We know exactly what it is. If you name it, you tame it, you identify it, you're able to tackle it. And of course, then, rules in the ed code really need to be applied fairly and consistently to everyone. It has to be a level playing field. Every report needs a thorough investigation, whether it's in school or online. And outcomes should be communicated to build trust and close the loop of accountability. So students can see that their concerns are resolved. There's some type of real world resolution that build the trust in the institution designed to protect them and provide them an environment where they can learn safely. Next, please. So train and support staff to act responsively and with empathy. So, the administration sets the bar. They set the bar by through their own actions themselves. Again, what the administration deems important determines the culture of the school. So if there's a dismissive nature, let's say through the administration, then it's going to trickle down into the staff, and that's going to create a culture. So staff then would understand that there's, if this is being dismissed at the upper level, then maybe it's not as important for me to employ, these safety mechanisms. So schools need to have baseline training and deep ongoing professional development, and not just the one and done, trainings, but a specific training on Islamophobia as well as implicit bias and biases. And make it sure that it's done, throughout the year. And this can be done through trainings like culture and religious awareness, bias awareness, restorative practices. And, this can be done throughout the year itself, and maybe through reminders at different portions when you have staff meetings, and staff trainings. Just because something is covered in the beginning, it needs to be embedded within throughout the school year, specifically so it can take hold within the culture of the school. Something that we did this year is we gave a more expansive definition of bullying. And it's seen which you can see in our report, where even a single act of bias, discrimination, or bullying can have a damaging effect on the student's sense of safety and self-worth. Sometimes we think it has to be a repeated pattern, and definitely that's part of the process of, or the part of the definition of bullying. But what we've seen across the board now is even one incident, and even if you look in your lives where that one incident could have a detrimental effect to how you identify. Next, please. So in order to cultivate inclusivity, cultivate a school of climate of inclusivity. So weave in the culture of belonging through newsletters, posters, student artwork, multicultural messages, recognition of Islamic holidays and practices, Ramadan, Eid al-Fitr, Eid al-Adha. In Ramadan, Muslim students are fasting for 30 days. And, if there is a recognition by the school in terms of the hardship that they're dealing with, and what accommodations the schools can provide, they will feel very, very comfortable. And they will feel they'll feel part of the school itself. They'll feel part of the, quote unquote team. And especially if the schools themselves are more proactive in reaching out. Integrate diverse voices and experiences throughout the year. Promote inclusion through Multicultural Day. We've seen, it's really nice we've seen some schools do that now. Movie screenings, author visits. Ensure classroom and library collections include the BMIMSA authors, where it includes the voices and the histories of certain ethnicities or certain histories of their heritage, and use Muslim American Heritage Month and Ramadan as opportunities to further highlight these stories. At the end of the day, schools really have to build this knowledge and integrate that within the teaching practices school-wide for it to really take hold, and really implement itself naturally, organically within the school culture. Family and community engagement. Muslim families can be apprehensive and again, for a variety of reasons you just heard. So be proactive through multilingual communication, through or languages, in the preference of that particular community. Let them know about their rights, the reporting options, school expectations. If they know exactly how to operate within a system, they'll be more inclined to take part in that system itself. Invite parents to serve on site councils, equity committees, and family engagement teams. Sometimes, again, parents are apprehensive for a variety of reasons, but being inviting really makes them feel comfortable and part of the culture of the school and part of the entire fabric of the school. Host listening sessions or community forums to hear directly from Muslim families. Again, this will eliminate the apprehension that we see from so many Muslim families. And learn about the community. Attend or support events hosted by local mosques or Muslim community organizations. If you do a quick Google search around your local schools, you might find a lot of mosques or other Muslim community organizations exist within your proximity. Next. And I will now give it to Bayan to go over the recommendations for parents.
Osman. So now that we've gone over the recommendations for educators and the steps schools can take to improve this campus climate, I want to shift to what this means for parents. And before I kind of jump into this section, I wanted to take a quick poll just to see, what everyone's thoughts are. So we did, in our survey, we ask students who do they typically reach out to for help. And so I'm going to put a poll. I want you to take a guess if you can. Let me put the poll here. I want you to try to take a guess of what percentage of students reached out to parents and friends for help. So let me, I believe I created two polls. So I'm gonna, okay. Okay, I'm gonna leave it for 30 more seconds and then I'll end the poll. Okay, I'll go ahead and share the poll. So it looks like 8% of folks thought that, students reached out to parents and friends for help, only 8%. It's actually 55%. 55% of students reached out to parents and help and friends for help. It is 88% was only for school counselors. And so as you could see, uh, this shows us that families are one of the first places students actually turn to when they experience bullying or discrimination. So, because of that, parents play a critical role in supporting their children and helping schools respond effectively. So, the next section here outlines practical, realistic actions that parents can take when bullying is happening, both to protect their child and to strengthen the overall school environment. So, the first thing is knowing your rights. So, when we talk about protecting our children from bullying, the first step is to really understand the rights they already have. So in California, every student is legally entitled to an education that is free from discrimination and harassment. And that includes bias-based bullying on, bias-based on disability, religion, race, ethnicity, national origin, and gender. And these are just some of the protected categories. So on top of that, federal laws require schools that receive federal funding to address discrimination promptly and effectively. And it's also important to review your district's anti-bullying policies to understand, how incidents should be reported, what steps should the school take, and how they must keep you informed as a parent. And finally, under Education Code 51101, parents have the right to be informed and involved in decisions affecting their child. The next thing is to use the data to start conversations. So, and one of the most effective tools that you have is the data. When you bring real numbers to school site councils, PTA meetings, or school board meetings, it shifts the conversation from isolated to stories to a systematic issue within the school. So you can ask school leaders, like, given this data, what are the steps that you're taking to improve the school climate? This really opens the door for dialogue and accountability. And especially if you, have specific county. I know someone in the asked us a question about Sacramento County. Sacramento County is actually one of the largest sample sizes we've collected. And so if this is where you want to advocate, you could use this data. And so also pairing the data with your personal experience or bringing other parents with similar concerns and make your message even stronger. Schools are more likely to take action when they hear a pattern rather than a single incident. The third thing is to advocate for staff training and student support. So data and stories help highlight the need for stronger support systems. And one of the most effective things parents can advocate for is staff training. particularly around supporting Muslim students and recognize bias-based bullying. You can request training during professional development days, ask for culturally responsive counseling services, or encourage the district to bring in outside experts. Remember, when staff receive the right tools, students benefit. And creating a more inclusive and supportive environment helps every child, not just the ones experiencing bullying. The fourth thing is to really stay involved. Parents often underestimate the power of simply being present. So when you attend meetings, volunteer, or engage with school staff, you build a positive relationship that make collaboration easier later on. And we always encourage parents to really start that relationship early on in the year, such as, trying to be a partner, that I'm here to support you. Let's work together. Connecting with other parents is also important. A group of parents raising the same concern has much more influence than one person trying to advocate alone. So, by building a network, even a small one, you can share information, compare experiences, and present collective requests that are hard for schools to ignore. We really emphasize this, reporting every incident, no matter how small it is. One of the biggest challenges families face is inconsistent reporting, and you find this in our data as well. Even small incidents matter. They help establish patterns and make it harder for the school to dismiss concerns. A lot of often we talk to a lot of parents, and they come to us and they tell us their stories, and we're like, okay, so did you report this? And they're like, no. And so, please, take I know it may take a little bit more than a few minutes of your day, but these things are really important. We're going to provide some QR code to where you could report incidents. But when documenting, you need to include specific details like dates, times, locations, and who was involved. Also write down the emotional or physical impact on your child. And reach out to the teacher, counselor, or principal as soon as possible. And always follow up in writing. Emails create a timeline and documentation that becomes extremely important if the situation escalates. So having a paper trail is really important. And then the last thing is to escalate when necessary. So most issues can be resolved at the school site. But if the situation isn't improving and you have the right to take formal action, in California, the Uniform Complaint Procedure, which is UCP, allows you to file an official complaint. And when you submit that, the district is required to investigate and provide a resolution within 60 days. So this is a legally mandated process, and schools must follow it. If you need help, or if you feel the school's response isn't adequate, you can reach out to our organizations, such as CARE, to really support you and navigate. And so you're not processing this alone. I will go ahead and pass it back to Osman for the recommendations for community partners.
Thank you, Ban. I just want to add this piece to what Ban was talking about. It's really important that parents know their rights, parents understand the powers that they have, but they also have to be, and I'm using this word, fearless in approaching, things that or systems that may seem unchangeable. They're not. If you understand your rights, reach out to organizations such as CARE, the center. And again, I was just, in a meeting a little while ago with a certain school district because a group of parents got together and brought this issue to the superintendent, who was willing to listen, and willing to acknowledge and willing to make changes, right? So change can happen, but there has to be an understanding that, yes, you know your rights. Get together with other parents as well to find out exactly what's happening in your community, because sometimes maybe parents may not be talking as much. Just talking about maybe what's happening on WhatsApp groups is great, but that needs to be mobilized into action, and it can be done. And we're seeing incrementally, we are seeing these changes, and we are seeing these changes happening within the school districts. And change comes slowly, so sometimes it can't happen overnight. But we are seeing the benefits of parent solidarity and parent efforts. For our recommendations for community partners, there's a word in Arabic, and I don't speak Arabic, but I understand this word, and Dan can correct me if I'm wrong. This word is called ta'alif, and it means to bind, just like a book is bound together. So when you see these times of tumultuous times that we're living in the world today, we need to bind ourselves together, with our community partners to support each other, right, to help combat the hate and to help fight against, the fight against our marginalized communities, and need to support the marginalized communities. And we are all part of this great effort to really live up to, the ideals that we all stand by and all believe in terms of safety, in terms of, uniformity, harmony. And these are really things that really help us understand how we can really get together, bind together, and support each other in the times of struggles. Simply put, we really ask our community partners to really take these themes and the content that's presented here about the BEMEMSA and the BIPOC communities, and showcase the steps that we're taking, showcase our struggle to the other communities, leverage your connections with other organizations to put the Muslims who and the BEMEMSA and the BIPOC community who are afraid to speak out and speak up because they just don't know what the reaction is going to be. And clearly you see from the data and the focus groups what we're feeling and what the students are feeling. So we ask that you support, the center's efforts, and the efforts of our communities, and advocate for trainings that we offer to different schools, to parent communities and community, and again, and to other community partners. So really kind of help elevate our message to other communities. And we really seek your help and support and leverage, the fact that many of you have been around for much longer than the center or even CARE for that matter. And so we really love to, in solidarity and partnering up and making sure that we're able to leverage, you're able to leverage the content that we're providing, and leverage your connections as well. So speaking of trainings, or sorry, I went one step ahead. Q&A. So I do see that there are questions. I think Shej has been answering most of the questions. But again, this is also a portion where you could ask questions here as well if there are anything that was not either communicated earlier. We could definitely share the slide deck with our community partners, 100%. I think one of the questions was regarding out of state. Yes, currently it's just California, but we can definitely provide. I mean, you can see from the report itself. You can take that data. Hopefully, maybe we do one day have a national report as well. I think those were all the questions that are out there. I know Shej answered most of them. If there's anything I'm missing, please let me know, Ban.
I think someone just, recommended some books. We appreciate that. We
Right.
also have a list of recommendation of books as well that you could, implement into the curriculum. But these are super helpful. So thank you for that. Okay, thank you, Shaj.
So currently, the center is only in the CPHB is currently only operates in California right now. Our hope is to definitely be able to expand to different states, but currently we're only in California, and we're a project of CARE California. So currently we just are in California itself.
So
Yeah.
we also, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, no, go ahead.
No, we had a question that if someone wants to invite us to a community parent empowerment and engagement training that they're holding in San Diego County, how can we do so? We have a link of how you would like to partner with us. You could also just email one of us to directly initiate that. We also have a link that kind of provides all of the content that you would like us to use, and we could definitely come out to San Diego County. So I hope that answers your question.
And the question about AB 715, I think the fight has just begun. So hopefully we can all, really get together and kind of put our heads together and understand how to kind of fight this heinous bill that's going to impact so many of our students, teachers, and parents, unfortunately. So again, it's just begun. So we can let this be the inception point to kind of putting our heads together and figure out a way ahead. All right. Again, you can still put any questions down there if you like till the end of the town hall. I'm going to go into the trainings that we're offering. So we do provide trainings. Again, this is throughout California. Although the center itself is based here in Los Angeles. Our other offices, whether it's San Diego, Sacramento, and San Francisco, also offer the same set of trainings. So one specifically right now, we did one last year called Supporting Students During Ramadan. We would definitely want to be able to get out into the schools like we did last year. We went to a couple of schools last year. We were able to help teachers understand the struggle that students have during Ramadan and what accommodations they can make, not just in their classrooms, but institutionally in the schools themselves. Cultural awareness training. Again, this is in addition to supporting students in Ramadan, and these are two different trainings. Parent Empowerment Seminar, we had one earlier this year. This is directed particularly specifically to for our Muslim parents, but a lot of the content that we provided in that seminar can be applied across the board to any parent community. Also, we provide bystander prevention settings in public settings that is taught by Bayan herself, who's trained in that particular training. And that, again, could be provided in public settings. And so also we do have other offerings as well, and we can cater these and create trainings for your organization. If you reach out to us, let us know what you're about. We can contour, curate, and create the training to meet your needs. Some of our resources that we have offered. So, we urge you to go to our website and peruse through the entire site itself. One of the things you'll see is some of the resources that we're providing. This is an educator's guide to Islamic religious practices. This is conducted by CARE. A parent toolkit. Again, we just had that seminar, and this was the accompanying material that we use. It has all the things that we discussed in our parent empowerment seminar. And there's additional pieces of information there as well. Again, it not only applies to Muslim parents, but it applies to all parents in different communities to understand the power that they have, the rights that they have, and how to execute and mobilize their rights. Supporting Muslim students during Ramadan. Again, this is in association with our supporting students Ramadan presentation itself. But this is a resource piece that you can download. All these, this is downloadable. You can have it. It's all for free on our website. And then we also had storytime recommendations that have, this is the Ramadan edition. So it has Muslim voices talking about Ramadan. So if schools and educators want literature in regards to Ramadan itself, this is something that's readily available and you can access at any time. At the very end of the day, really what funds us is you. So, really help us out. If you like what you saw, you really want to support this work and you really want to help us grow. Again, if we really want to grow across the United States, and I know this is something that I think is needed, not just in California, but every single state, please check us out. We would love to have monthly donors. If you like what you saw, click on the link, click on the QR code, sorry, and you can see exactly how to donate, and really appreciate your support. Again, this is how we operate, this is how we run, and we want to be able to expand and ensure that we're able to provide these services for all our communities across the state and even in other states as well. Eventually. And so also you can report hate, create change. When you saw the video from the very beginning, like I said, it really encapsulated the report in video form. We're not going to be our struggles are not going to be known if our voices are not don't raise awareness. And so, accountability, this is the idea of reporting. Report hate, create change. It's that simple as that. And, we're here to help support that. CARE itself, as we talked about in the beginning, it's, we're the CARE part of the CARE California chapter. So each state or each office of the 4 offices covers an entire region. And so, we provide help front accountability. We'll support in helping providing, accountability for students that have been victims of discrimination. And the CARE itself individuals who've been victims of discrimination. Support victims. Obviously, we're providing statistical data. So does CARE. CARE itself provides legal recourses, and help us raise awareness and help us prevent future incidents by bringing us on, helping us train. The more we can get into schools, the more we can get into these organizations, the more impact our words are going to have. Again, the report stands by itself, but it's not static. It needs to be mobilized. It needs to be implemented, and your partnerships and your support is what makes that possible. And so connect with us through a variety of ways. Also, please check out our QR code. We'd love feedback to see how we can improve our product, how we can improve our future presentations. You can reach us out through social media on Facebook and Instagram, LinkedIn as well, or cphb.org is our website. And if you'd like to email us with any questions or any ideas, info@cphb.org is also there for you. And with that, I would like to say thank you so much. It is 11:54. We are running on the hour. We did promise, I think, an hour or 45 minutes. Ran a little bit over. So thank you so much for joining us today. Again, we would love to hear your feedback. Any questions you have, please reach out to us through info@cphb.org. And we'd love to work with you in the future. Bayan, any parting words? No. So on behalf of
Thank you all
Bayan, myself,
for, yeah, no,
sorry,
thank
Ben,
you
go
for
ahead.
taking the time to learn more about, what are some of the challenges students are facing and how you could be a support. So really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day. If you're in California, enjoy the rain. Bye-bye.